Hello and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the living room in Jack's Beach. And let's do a First Myths storybook where you're going to read it along with me. Today we're going to do a newborn warrior, and this is from Mexico. And our agenda is always going to be the same. We're going to have spelling, the meaning of the words that we spelled. And remember, these are simple words, so it's not like I'm going to trick you. If I ask you what a tree is, you know what a tree is. But I want you to get used to vocabulary when you read, understanding the vocabulary and the meaning. And then we're going to find the word. You can do that before or afterwards. You're going to read through with me. And you read through it yourself. You can do this either way. In the beginning, you probably want to let me read through it and you try to read it in your head. But then when you start to learn the words, then you can take it to the next slide. And today I think this is 2 slides for the story. And so you can pause it and then you read it and then start it and hear me read it. You can see what you got right and what you got wrong. And then the grand pop quiz. So, the newborn vocabulary. And the first one is going to be capitalized. The first letter is going to be capitalized. Now, you're going to see that every one of these words, the first one is capitalized because it's it's not the first word of a sentence, but it's just a word gone on the screen. So normally that'll be capitalized. If a word's the first word of a sentence, the first letter of that word's going to be capitalized. But in the middle of a sentence, certain things like Mexico, and that's our first word, have a capital letter. So whatever the in Mexico is, it'll be capitalized. So take a shot at Mexico. Not physically. Don't shoot at Mexico. Mexicans would be very upset. They'll shoot back. Take a shot. Capital. It is Mexico. Mexico. What is Mexico? Mexico is the country over our southern border. So if you go all the way to the south of the United States, touching on the states of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, and you go south of the border, you will be in the country of Mexico. And remember that because it's a person, place, or a proper noun, person, place, or thing, proper, that the M is capitalized. The next is baby. Baby. B-A-B-Y. Baby. And what's baby? What is a baby? And you see what I was saying, that this is capitalized just because it's on, the first word on a slide, on a bullet point. But it's not a sentence. So you see here, the country over our southern border. The is capitalized. But if it was the southern border, the country over the southern border, THE here would not be capitalized. So baby's capitalized here, but it wouldn't be. So what is a baby? What do you mean I'm a baby? I'm your grandpa. A newborn human being. So next up is mountain. This is a little difficult. The is very similar to another word we just looked at. But the owl, and there's a word up here that is similar. The mountain. Can you pick it out up here? How about country? Country. Mountain. O-U-N-T will probably be in mount. Mount. So take a shot at mountain. Mountain. M-O-U-N-T-A-I-N. So there is the O-U-N-T. O-U-N-T. Mountain. Now it looks like it says mountain, but we pronounce it mountain. It's just something about English. You just have to get used to stuff like this. A lot of stuff doesn't look like it sounds. If you're learning Spanish, stuff looks exactly, it sounds exactly like it looks, but not in English. English came from a whole bunch of different languages: German, Latin, French. We've borrowed words from around the world. English is a mishmash. So what's a mountain? Where Arlo lives. And he does. He lives on Signal Mountain. Now, Signal Mountain, because it's a proper name, the S in Signal and the M in Mountain will be capitalized. So the last one is flight, like a bird in flight. Flight. This is a difficult one when you're first learning. Flight. Give it a shot. Flight. F-L-I-G-H-T. Flight. And what is flight? To fly. To take flight. I went on a flight. I flew in the air. You know, you go up in an airplane, you go on a flight. Birds take flight. The way they do it is they fly. Okay, so look at this person. That's pretty scary. We got the two snake heads, serpent hands, snakes, serpents, the dress. This is the same person. And I'm sorry about the partial nudity up here, but look, that's life. This has it too. It takes a while to figure it out. But this and this are representations of the same thing. And this is another one. Now this, they covered it up. But there's a skull hanging there, and the snake hands, and the snake head, and the snake dress. And there's feet and snakes all over. This person is really into snakes. So what's all this about? And this story is about Mexico before the Spanish got here. And it's called A Newborn Warrior. A newborn warrior. Warrior. Now, capital, capital, capital. Why is that? Because it's the title of this story. So this would be capitalized anyway. But if this was just a sentence, these would not be capitalized. That would be a small N and a small W, and there'd be a period here. But this is the story, the title of the story. So now we're going to be introduced to this lady here. And this is how they represent her in this book. But I wanted to show you what the actual people that believed in her believed that she looked, what she looked like. And her name is Coatlicue. And don't worry, these names that are in here are going to be very difficult. I don't expect you to know these names for quite some time. Coatlicue was the earth goddess of old Mexico. And look, Mexico is capitalized. She is capitalized. The S is capitalized because it's the first letter in a sentence. She had 400 sons. That's a lot of sons. Who were the stars in the southern sky. And she had one daughter, Coyolxauhqui, the goddess of the night. Now notice there's a comma here. Coyolxauhqui, comma. That means pause. The goddess of the night. One day, pause, when Coatlicue was sweeping the floor, and here she is, she's sweeping the floor with this broom thing, she found a ball of feathers. So here's the ball of feathers. She picked it up and tucked it tidily into the waistband of her skirt of snakes. So the waistband would be like right around here. She tucked this thing, and there we see her tucking it in, but it's like right, you can't see exactly. It looks like she's just holding it in front of her belly button here, but she would be tucking it down into this, right in here. But Coatlicue didn't know that the ball of feathers held a powerful magic. It was not long before Coatlicue, now this is the name of this goddess, so the C in Coatlicue is capitalized, realized she was expecting another baby. So she's going to have a baby. She had no idea that it was because of the magic ball of feathers. So if you were older, I'd flesh that out a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. So she's going to have a baby, and she doesn't know that having this feather ball caused it. When Coatlicue told her children what was happening to her, they became very angry. So she's telling this story. She's got these snakes all over the place. This must be the daughter there, Coatlicue, sitting there. You are too old for this sort of thing, said Coatlicue. Tell us, who is the father of your child? But she doesn't know. She doesn't know that it's caused by this feather ball. But Coatlicue couldn't tell her because she didn't know. All her sons were angry with her too. In the end, Coatlicue was so furious, and furious means really mad, I'm furious with her mother, that she chased her out of the house. And that sucks, because that's the mom's house. But Coatlicue is kicking her out. Get out of here with your snake dress. Coatlicue ran away from her home and through the mountain paths. But all her children were following her, shouting and waving weapons. That sucks. So she has 400 sons that are stars in the sky, and the one daughter. What shall I do? Moaned Coatlicue. So she's asking a question here. What shall I do? So there's a question mark. See that right there? Question mark. But there's quotation marks too, because this is telling you that she's speaking, and what she says is in the quotation marks. What shall I do? Moaned Coatlicue. Then things got worse. Pause. Because as Coatlicue reached the top of Coatepec Mountain, or Coatepec Mountain, she felt a bad pain. The baby is coming, she cried. See this again, quotation marks, quotation marks. The baby is coming, and you always want to put a comma there. You'll learn this stuff. She cried. She lay down on the ground and gave birth, not to a baby, but to a fully armed warrior. So instead of having a little baby, and we have pictures of you three, when you were little babies, when you were first born, you were tiny. But this is what she gave birth to right here. This guy with his helmet on and everything. In these ancient myths from around the world, they quite often are pretty fantastical. His skin was blue and gold, and he carried a flaming sword. So not only is he fully armored, but he's got a sword that's on fire. Huitzilopochtli was his name. Now, if you can say that, Huitzilopochtli, I'll give you $10. That's just for my grandchildren. Huitzilopochtli was his name, and he was, in fact, the sun. See, this is fantastical stories. These are things that we know didn't happen, but these folks believed that it happened. Remember we were talking about how they would sit around the fire at night and they would tell these stories? Well, this is the kind of story that somebody'd say, well, how did the sun get up in the sky? They'd be watching the sunset, and somebody would go, how did the sun get up in the sky? And the storyteller from the tribe would go, oh, well, let me tell you. And they believed these things. They were passed down. I'm sure this story was essentially the same thousands of years ago as it is now. Even if they didn't have writing, because they would orally pass the tradition down from storyteller through storyteller. So he leapt. Leapt means he jumped. He leapt to his mother's defense. Now, if you remember, this book is from England, so defense is spelled with a C, but in the United States we spell it D-E-F-E-N-S-E. But I want to point something out. This is the apostrophe S. So this is something that belongs to his mother. So it's her defense that he's leaping to, that he's jumping up to provide her a defense. So it belongs to her. So it's mother's, mother apostrophe S. That's how you make it's called possessive. You'll learn all this stuff as you go along. Because her other children were trying to kill her. So here's the princess, I forget her name. In spite of being just born, he killed his sister, the goddess of the night, and most of his star brothers. The other brothers ran away and hid in the south. And so it happens every morning that the sun puts the night that the sun puts the night and stars to flight. So if you're sitting out there right before sunrise, it's all dark and there's stars out. And then the sun comes up and the stars start to disappear and the sky turns blue. So this is them explaining that. It's a very beautiful story. You're not meant with a story like this to believe it, but it is beautiful the way they tell these stories. And you can imagine them sitting there thousands of years ago and saying, well, yeah, this makes sense. Like every morning the sun comes out and the stars in the night disappear. So this is how it happened. The Grand Pop Quiz. Spell Mexico. Mexico. Capital M-E-X-I-C-O. Mexico. What is Mexico? That's right, it's the country over our southern border. Spell baby. Baby. B-A-B-Y, baby. And what's baby? Normally, it's a newborn human being, but this baby, it said she was going to have a baby, but what she had was not a baby, it was a full-grown warrior. Spell mountain. Mountain. M-O-U-N-T-A-I-N. Mountain. What is a mountain? You better get this one right, Arlo. Mountain is where Arlo lives. Signal mountain. Spell flight. Flight. F-L-I-G-H-T. Flight. What is flight? What does that mean? To fly. Okay. Take a minute or so and tell me what the story says. Although I just got a text from your dad. Coatlicue was the earth goddess. She found a ball of magic feathers that caused her to have a baby. Her daughter, Coilchaqui, the goddess of the night, was angry and chased her to a mountain where she gave birth to a warrior who killed Coilchaqui and some of her sons. They were stars. I didn't put that in here. He became the sun god, and chased the night away every morning. So they believed that it wasn't just the sun, but that the sun was a god. The stars were these, sons of Coatlicue, and the sun was a god too. Peace out.